It's the rise of the green tide. Today we're going to talk about Ork Legends in honor of the release of another Red Gobbo model. If you don't know what Ork Legends are, how they're to be used, or what their purpose is, you will today. So let's get into some Ork Legends because we're all about the war around here. So, what are Ork Legends? So, Ork Legends are older models / datasheets that GW had released in the past that no longer supports fully. Fully meaning they will still release a single datasheet, but that datasheet will remain for the entire edition of that Legends model. Okay, so that means it'll never change, it'll never get updated. Boom, that's what you're stuck with, that's what you got. It's good that they exist, but necessarily for some people that don't know, they're not intended for, like I said, when can you use them? Match play. What it is, they're not intended for casual, open, competitive play. They're intended for open play, casual play. That's why you only get one data sheet. Now, do I think you should use them? Just going to go on a limb and say, if you're playing Beer Hammer, if you're a Warhammer player in general, which you should be playing Beer Hammer, you should occasionally have those games with your friends where you're ready to just have a casual game. That's where these models come into play when you're making a thematic army. Sometimes these leaders, these characters, these models are the only time you're going to see them or be able to use them are in these thematic lists where it'll make any kind of sense. Like, for example, the Red Gobbo himself, right? He's literally a leader for a Grot army. It's exactly the point of him. So Ork Legends are very much fair play, fair use in any way besides competitive play, because sometimes they can lead to broken interactions, right? And then how do you get them? GW will occasionally release them, or you kit bash your own. So there's other factions. Let's say you don't only own orcs. There's inquisitors that have come out before, right? That they're no longer legends, but they're new. They're a single model. They're very nice. They're plastic. They're up to date. The GW goes, hey, I don't want to try to balance that. Therefore, I'm not going to put it there. So that being said, guys, I'm going to pull up all the data sheets from our actual legends. GW does release that. They release an actual PDF with every legends data sheet and the points for it. That will remain. So we're gonna go off the bat and start with everybody's favorite Red Gobbo. So the Red Gobbo, there's another version of the Red Gobbo on a squig, and he has his own, but he wasn't in that PDF. So GW will have to redo something without that. This is the Red Gobbo on foot. Automatically, I just want to say yes, totally playable. So pay attention to here's why. So he is only movement 6. He is T2, just like every other Grot. 5 up save, so he actually knows how to use armor. He actually has an armor save. Wow, fantastic. 3 wounds, a little bit impressive. Leadership 7, so I actually can see a little bit better in a funny way, but okay. And he's only 1 OC, which I'll take that. Okay. And he has just one gun as his pistol, nothing impressive. It's a devastating wound pistol. It's a custom Grot blaster. Range 12, D3 attacks, hitting on 4s like any other Grot, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage. So not really that impressive, of course. Melee, Icon of the Revolution. Devastating wounds, 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 3, 0 AP. So his actual data sheet abilities, the revolution. While this model is leading a unit, each time that model makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. And his other ability is, has you been a good little Grot this year? Once per battle in your shooting phase, you can target this model. So this model's unit with the grenade stratagem for 0 CP. And you can do that even if you've already targeted a different unit with that strat this phase. So that's hilarious. Boom, you're throwing grenades with Grot. So if you've ever played with Grots, you know you want to throw grenades. And yes, he very much does have the grenade keyword, therefore he'll throw it again. That means you're not using a unit of boys. Let's say you have another unit that's using grenades. Let's say you have Grot bikers. Haha, Grot bikers. You can use grenades on them, use them with him. Very fun. And of course, he leads a unit of Grots. So here's the other side of the data sheet. Boom, here's a picture of him in case you haven't seen him. A lot of these Legends data sheets you'll probably not have seen anymore, so I'll have stuck a picture on the other side of the card. The ways you can see how it goes, all right? 40 points, Red Gobbo, must have. I feel like he is most likely one of the most viable, reliable, used models that you're ever going to get right now currently. And He's thematic. So sorry, I was looking to make sure I didn't miss anything. Doesn't look like he's a lone operative. I was looking to see if he was something interesting like that. Not on this data sheet, not right here, unless I missed it. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next data sheet because there's about 16 data sheets in here. So boom, we're going to the cannon wagon. So the cannon wagon is essentially a battle wagon with a big old gun on the back. Boom. So keep that in mind as you're looking at these data sheets, right? Movement 12, T10, 4 up armor save, so it doesn't have that nice 3 up armor save that we like. 16 wounds, leadership 7, 4 OC. It has the big shooters, super cannon, which is essentially the main gun that it's gonna have, which is there's 2 profiles. Frag, which is D6 plus 3, hitting on 5, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. Then you have the super cannon for a single shell at 36-inch range, 5 hitting on 5s, strength 9, minus 2, D3 plus 3 damage. It melee, 3 attacks, 4 hitting on 4s, strength 8, 0 AP, 1 damage, just straight up spiked rams. His datasheet ability is in your shooting phase, just after selecting a target for this model super cannon, roll 1d6 for that target unit and every other unit within 3 inches. On a 5+, the unit being rolled for is struck by concussive wave. And after this model is making its attacks against the target unit this phase, each model is struck with a concussive wave, suffers D3 mortal wounds. So he hits you, boom, guys have to take a mortal wound check within inches, certain 3 inches of that guy. Not very powerful, not very devastating, and actually its shot itself is not very devastating. To be honest, this is one of those models that if you're trying to make a nice blitz wagon, a bunch of stuff coming down the range, it could be thematically fun. But so far, I'm not impressed by its actually offensive capabilities. Like you'll see, some of these other data sheets really actually do have some offensive capability. As for this one, though, for 150 points, I'm still not about that. So he has a super cannon and his big shooters. It can transport only 6 infantry. Each mega knob unit or jetpack unit takes 2 spaces. It cannot transport Gazgul, obviously, as it doesn't have a big space. So here it looks like here's one version. A lot of the time with legend model guys, as you go through and you look at them, you're going to see that it's a different kind of use different versions all over the place because people will usually make their own. There's a lot of times where GW back in the day will actually release a model data sheet, name it and everything, and not have a model for it, period. So then Ork players especially will go out there and make their own, right? And then GW occasionally will come out with an actual model in the future. So this is, if you're looking around, you're like, I want to see how they look. All you need to know is about the size of a battle wagon, and it has a super cannon on it. Fantastic. 115 points, though, definitely not where it's going to be. Definitely not where I want it to be. So I wanted to check out the Red Gobbo again, make sure I didn't miss anything because I love that little buzzard. Now, a unit that I do see people using for fun, the Painboy on bike. I like this a lot. I know when I first got into 40K, I realized you could have a Painboy on bike. I was like, what's happening in 8th edition? What? And he was a Legends back then, too. So Legends do stay in play for quite a bit, guys. Not every single one. Some fall off every time. But all in all, something like a Painboy on bike, you can kit bash pretty easily up, guys. And for example, right now, this is when you want to run a speed wall with bikers. It's a good time to use them, right? Cheap, easy to use. So let's see his data sheet, if it's worth it, though. So for his ranged weapons, twin Daka guns, assault, rapid fire 2, twin link, strength 5, hitting on 5s, 3 attacks. So he doesn't have an AP. He doesn't get it from his ability either. So he just has a normal gun, kind of. In melee, he can either have a kill saw, a power claw, and then he has his Erdy syringe, anti-infantry 4+, extra attacks, precision. So then we'll look at his actual datasheet abilities. Leader, Waaagh. Daka tool. While this model is leading a unit, units have a 5-up feel no pain ability. That's sick. You put that in a biker unit with a 5-up feel no pain. Whoa, I'm into that. I'm just saying, guys. I like them. Very fun. I think it's fun. Okay, let's see what else he does. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Each time, hold still and stay hard. Each time an attack is made by this model, its Erdy syringe scores a critical wound, excluding vehicle. It suffers D6 mortal wounds. So if he suffers any critical wounds with here, he will do D6 mortal wounds. He's essentially the same as a Painboy on foot with his melee potential. but he also gives a feel no pain, just like his melee counterpart. He does have 2 OC, which I do like to see. A lot of the time, the characters just don't have any OC, or just have one. Sorry, not none, but they have like 1 OC. So for 85 points, would you bring him? Ooh, that's quite a point, because the Death Killer War Trike's already at a good point range, and then you give him a 4-up feel no pain, but that's just for him, and he gives a unit a +1 to hit and movement. A War Boss on bike isn't really the War Boss on bike doesn't really give you what you want, in my opinion. So actually, in order of what I would run, I would actually run a Death Killer War Trike, of course, if I'm running a speed wall and a biker wall. What I consider a Painboy on bike, I very much think so if I need more leaders, especially if I'm trying to keep the theme. But let's look at what he looks like. He actually looks like a straight up boy, and this is very, I'm pretty sure there's an actual quite a accurate data sheet of a picture, is a biker Painboy on bike. He's not going to look so ridiculous. A lot of the time, those Forge World models, just like with the War Boss on bike, have those weird, long, oval, like donut shaped, weird donut shaped bases, as you can see in that picture. That's not the same as our current warbike bases. They're more of an oval shape. This is not. This is like a long, oblong, tube kind of shape. As you can see, he can only go with war bikers. So all in all, do I think he's usable? Do I think he's great? I think in Legends conditions and under the conditions of playing a thematic speed wall, yes, I think he's actually pretty great. He's actually a reasonable point cost for giving the unit a 5 feel no pain. So if you're playing that speed wall, you need to hold some objectives. You're trying to move around. Everybody else is putting pressure. You need something to hold, and they don't just shoot you off one of your middle objectives or one of the objectives on the other side of the board, so you can continue to score and play. That's where this unit comes into play. I really would have liked to see a, I don't know, maybe like some kind of melee potential increase here from him at the most, or even regenning a biker. That'd be pretty hilarious, but there's still more characters to come on bikes. So let me take a look at chat too while I'm going through this. And we go through the big tracks. Oh, we got a lot of chats. You guys were going in. So, whoa, man, I might have to come to the chats a little bit because there's so many of you guys I didn't see where it was going. You guys making fun of me for being late? Of course. Chinook had a short run in old rules, but they were probably crap. We're going to go over those guys too. All right, hold on. Let me just keep going with this war track. So, war tracks. Movement 12, T6, hitting on 4s. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Movement 6, movement 12, T6, saving on 4s. 6 up invuln. 6 wounds. Leadership 7, 2 OC. Weapons. Rocket launchers, blast. 24. D3 +1. Hitting on 5. Strength 9, -2, 3 damage. Big shooters. Rapid fire 2, twin linked. 3 attacks, strength 5, hitting on 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. Melee weapon, spiked wheel, 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 6, 0 AP, 1 damage. Datasheet ability, drive by Daka. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack with its target within 9 inches, improve the penetration characteristic of that ability by 1. So it's 1 point. I'm sorry. For one guy, it's 50 points. For 2 guys, it's 100 points. It's actually quite dirt cheap. Now you can think about how much is a warbiker. A warbike is even cheaper than that for about half the wounds and a similar toughness. But I do get the AP on something like a rocket launcher. Let's look at the other side of his abilities. So his War Eater options, he can have the big shooters or a rack of rocket launchers. Pretty much it's a no-brainer. If you have this odd-looking fellow right here on this on this trike, I'll put the rockets on it, no doubt, because that goes so well with his datasheet ability. He's not a biker, though, which you can see here. But as he says, it says he's not a biker, but he says, speed freaks. If this model is in your army with the leadership ability, can be attached to war bikers in that unit, it can be attached to this unit instead. So if a model in your army has a leadership ability and attaches to war bikers, it can still be attached to that. So you can have 2 of these guys and a character. Now, what character would you want to put on a track that normally goes for bikers? Not necessarily sure. These guys would be better just solo ops running around by themselves. But for 50 points, when you're already paying just 70 points for 3 bikers, I don't necessarily think that would really be worth it either. It does maintain the, here's a bunch of little individual wounds everywhere. 6 wounds is kind of thick, but for 50 points, it's really going to be decent for actually doing actions in a weird way, right? You're going to have it just go into corners of the board, shoot down range with its rockets. You could, hypothetically, of course, keep the big twin shooters on so that you can get assault. But actually, it doesn't even have assault. Never mind, it's rapid fire. So no, definitely always keep the rocket. Sorry, I was like, why did I say assault? Then no, it doesn't have assault. But for 50 points, if people are only going to shoot this if they have no prisoners, essentially, right? What sucks about it is for being an Orky model, it has no melee potential, which of course I hate to see. All in all, and I feel like this thing's totally viable and playable. A lot of people most likely have one of these laying around. I actually do. It's not painted, and it's been butchered because I've used it for bits, to be honest. I really have, to kit bash stuff up. But very much this guy can be used, and he's only slightly thicker than a actual biker unit, a biker model, and he does actually come on a base. Is he amazing? Is he awesome? No, but if you have him, is he playable and you're trying to make a biker list? Yes. And now he can be given a character as well. So let's move on to something very similar, scorchers. So I'll say this right now. The Scorcher is essentially the same thing as the track, but with flamers. So movement 12, T6, save 4+, 6 up invul. 6 wounds, leadership 7, 2 OC. Scorcher. So of course, it ignores cover, has torrent. Of course, it's a flamer. 12-inch range, D6, strength 5, -1, 1 AP. 1 damage. So that's something we like to see is it's a flamer that actually has AP. Yes. Melee weapons, 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 6. So again, like we just said, no melee potential, not my favorite thing. Abilities. Each time models in the unit makes an ranged attack with the torrent weapons, which is the one it has, and it targets an enemy within 6 inches, reroll wounds of 1. If the target is also in range of an objective marker, you reroll the wound roll instead. So it has the same ability as the burner boys do, but it has a better flamer all in all. But for one of them being 45 points, 2 of them being 90 points, that's just not enough flamer output. The only reason you would bring this is because it is 5 points cheaper than the other variation we just seen. But this is how it looks. It's dudes on little tricycles, trike tracks with big cans on the back, right? Boom. Same thing. If a leader wants to be put on this unit, totally can. Another reason you might use this unit is if you want a different version of bodyguards for one of your leaders that you feel like using, like a war boss, to try to get in a melee. You have a bunch of flamer guys, but all in all, I'm not seeing the point there. They're a little still too expensive, but hey, something to see. So here we go. War buggies, movement 12. This is another thing, guys. This is going to look very similar with these. That's probably why GW reduced these guys to legends, is there was a lot of speed wall variation. And so we're going through a couple of those. War buggies, movement 12, T6, 4 up save, 6 wounds. Leadership 7, 2 OC, 6 up invuln. This one again, it can have the rack of rockets, which is D3 +1, hitting on 5, strength 9, -2, 3 damage, or it can have the twin shooters, rapid fire, twin linked. Still no melee potential with the same spiked wheels, 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 6. Abilities. When this unit arrives from strategic reserves, it can be set up in your opponent's deployment zone. All other restrictions still apply, meaning it still does not come on turn 1. Now, you can have one of these or 2 of them for 80 points. You can have one of these for 40, 2 of them for 80 points. This is getting at least closer to the 40 points that we actually, to the very cheap, dirt cheap 1 action unit that we want. Now, would you rather have a warbiker unit or a unit of Grots for 40 points? Grots are half the movement, way more wounds, ablative wounds, meaning they're separated. Pretty much just crappy leadership, just like them. Way more OC. Only reason you want to do this, like I keep saying, you have a tiny unit that can move very quickly around the battlefield, perform actions, sit in corners. And for 40 points, it's not an action to leave you. So war buggies, in a weird way, are getting closer to that point threshold where I might consider one, stick them around, try to make them do actions. But most of the time as an orc player, you already have other stuff that's going to do that. Mind you, 40 points is still much cheaper than even a Stormboy unit, which you would use in response for a biker unit for this. And if someone kills and activates a 40-point war buggy, they probably only had war prisoners, no prisoners. Here's how it actually looks, though. So this is a four-wheeler, essentially, or a go-kart. Very cool. I actually like this model. It's personally, I like it, and the size is, they're really not that big. They're probably about 4 inches long. Very cool. Sorry. So I'm going over his ability. He still has the same ability that if you have a war biker keyword, you can be put with him. Definitely not doing that. You're running him by himself. Now we're looking at the fun stuff. The grot guns. Well, actually, these aren't grot guns, but anyways. The big guns. I'm just going to say these right now. These guys are quite terrible. I don't understand their existence. But for 20 points, maybe you could find an existence is the point. So movement 3, toughness 4, 5 up save with a 6 up invuln, 3 wounds, leadership 8. You like to see that, don't you? 1 OC. So it has a cannon that has multiple profiles, D6 attacks, hitting on 6s, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. It has a shell, hitting on 6s with 1 shot, 9 strength, minus 2 D6. It has a lava, which is indirect blast, 48 inches, hitting on 6s again. I don't know what's wrong with this fella. He has a zap gun for devastating wounds and heavy. So I guess that could sit still and hit on 5s because it's still ballistic skill 6. Strength is 2d6 minus 3 flat 3 damage. In close combat, 2 attacks. You thought that was going to save it? Definitely not. Weapon skill 3+, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage. So these guys are just fucking weirdos. So his datasheet ability is splat. Each time model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets a unit that contains more than 10 models, reroll hit roll of 1. So it's a horrific version of a mat gun. It is a horrid model. It has vehicle, artillery, and big guns keyword. But here's how it look. Yeah, you guys like to see that, don't you? What's up? You ain't never seen a mat gun like that. These guys think they're in a civil war right here. So big guns. Designers know. Place 2 grots as tokens. So yeah, it has its cannon. It's bad. you choose one of the following, so you can't even have the lava and the zap gun. Only thing I'd ever bring is a zap gun. 20 points. Put it in your backfield is 3 wounds. I don't know. It's terrible. Don't do that. So what everybody really wanted to see, Def Copters. So if you're already running 18 Def Copters because you're a Chad of an orc, you're a proper war boss, here's another way to add another 9 additional Def Copters to your Def Copter spam. Whoa! Okay. The one thing is, these Def Copters are 130 points, so it's kind of crazy. They didn't get the memo. So we all know the Def Copter data sheet. Movement 12, T6, 4 up save, 4 wounds. Leadership 7, 2 OC with a 6 up invuln. You can choose between rockets, custom Mega Blaster, and then he has his Slugger built in, and he can choose a twin big shooter on this one. What you can also see here that makes these all the difference, you fellas, is the real awesome part about this, is these Def Copters actually have a melee weapon, a kill saw. Whoa! So you get 3 attacks from a kill saw, more than a Meganon. Hitting on 4s, strength 12, minus 3, 2 damage. Then he has his twin blades, 6 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. That he has deep strike, death from above ability. Whenever you move over an enemy unit, for the number of units in this, for the number of models in this unit, you roll a d6, and a 4+, it takes a mortal wound. So for 135 points, guys, the difference here seems to be the melee weapon. As you can see, you can pick, the big shooters can be replaced with the rockets or the custom Mega Blaster, and they can be equipped with the twin kill saws. So all in all, you're paying that extra premium for the kill saw, and that's all. So just for the melee potential, you're going up another 30 points. They are limited to a 3-man unit. You're not going to be able to run big units of Def Copters like this. You're not going to be able to get these up to 6-man units. I know some of you guys might not like that. But hey, would you ever run these if you're a true Chad? If you run your Warkoptas and you're playing a small meta game and you're playing your buggy version, speed wall version with your friend, and you feel like you need more melee potential, you can run your Def Dreads that you already have as these Def Dread versions and variations, run them with the rockets, and then just have kill saws on them. That's pretty much all the utensils I see for them. Other than that, what you got to keep in mind though with that strength profile, guys, these Warkoptas are able to tank shock at a different level. People would never see that. No one's gonna ever see that coming. These Warkoptas running with strength 12, like boom, just crumping. So these Warkoptas are probably one of the best things in the actual Legends datasheet currently still, as it gives us a deep strike. They have a interesting melee profile that gives them an awesome fast tank shot capability because it can fly. So a flying tank shot is hilarious. Now we move on to the Kill Krusha. So Kill Krusha is an actual big beefy model. Movement 10, T12, 3-up armor save with the 6-up invul, 22 wounds, leadership 4, and 8 OC. It can have a Krusha cannon, so with multiple profiles. So it has either a blast burner, which is 48-inch range, 3d6, hitting on 5s, strength 6, -1, 1 damage, or a Krusha cannon with a tank shell, and it's heavy. Interesting. One shot, 60 inches, hitting on 5, strength 16, -3, flat 6 damage. It has rocket launchers, scorchers, twin big shooters. The rockets have blast. Let's see, just normal rockets. We all know flamer. We know what scorchers do. Strength 5, -1, and then twin big shooters, regular twin big shooters with twin length. Melee profiles, tracking wheels, 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 8, -1, 1 damage. It does have a firing deck of 12. Its datasheet ability is the biggest booms in the shooting phase just after selecting a target for this model's Krusha cannon. The target unit and every other enemy infantry unit within 3 inches of that unit must take a battle shock test. So you shoot an enemy unit, and then every infantry unit within 3 inches of that unit takes a battle shock test. Really like to see that. That's actually kind of really fun. Is it super powerful and devastating for 230 points? No, it's really not. Could you get this to hit a little better? I mean, it can have heavy. You can make the mech hit better, but it's really not getting you the volume you want to see for that many points. This model can be equipped with one of the following: either one twin big shooter, 2 rockets, or a scorcher. And if we follow it, so you can get 2. This model can be equipped with one of the following again: twin big shooters. So yeah, you can put more rockets, have more rockets on here, but it's really not going to be enough. And it has a Krusha cannon wheel, so you can get some rockets on there for 230 points. It's kind of like a bad version of a battle wagon. Its transport capability is 12 orc infantry, mega knobs and jump pack take up 2 models, and gas takes up 18 space. So I guess that's the one thing. I guess that's the one thing he would want to do is take up 18 space, but there's only 12. So gas can't go in here, even though they mention him of the space he would take up. And it is cool because this is one of the very few exceptional units that still allows you to take jump pack units within the transport. That's actually kind of strong because imagine your projection of those jump pack units. So I would say that's actually one of the best utility points of this big old thick boy. It's an odd looking model. It's another version of one of our tanks. I actually really do like to see orc tanks. That's something that I think is missing, right? We all love the battle wagon. We understand that it is it's a blessing to have a wagon that can transport, it can fight, and it can kind of shoot a little bit. But all in all, we all know that we love stuff like the kill tank because it's an actual tank, and sometimes we just want to see all the DACA flow. So does this have enough DACA for you to put a mech on it? No, not necessarily. The cannon itself isn't enough shots. But let's look at another big thick mech. We have a movement of there's a Death Roller Battle Fortress. So this is another version of a battle wagon, but bigger, and you'll see in the picture. So movement of 10, T12, 3-up save, 6-up invul, 22 wounds, leadership 7, 8 OC. He has big shooters. He has a cannon for the cannon shell, 36-inch range, 1 shot. hitting on 5, strength 9, minus 2d6 damage. He can have a lava, rocket launcher, scorcher, twin big shooters, or zap gun. As you can see, they're similar to the battle wagon. He's going to have to choose between some of these. He has a death roller, so we're finally seeing a melee profile on one of these little vehicles, old school legend vehicles. It's not terrible. Death roller, 6 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 9, minus 1, 2 damage. Firing deck 22. So this boy is thick like a wagon. Rolling fortress. Each time a range attack is allocated to an orc models from your army, if that model is not fully visible to every model in the unit because of this unit's Deafy Roller Battle Fortress, that model has the benefit of cover. So you can literally use this Battle Fortress as cover. That's the point of its datasheet ability. I don't even know if there's any other unit that does that in all of 40k as a whole. It's literally telling you if someone's targeting an Orc unit and this model gets in the way of that, you're giving that model cover. So not only is this boy thickly moving up there so that he can occupy the table and actually transport these models, but anybody that's behind him, let's see, there's something else behind him, Squig Hog Boys or something weird like that, he's actually giving them cover as well. So that's actually pretty hilarious. I didn't put the score on here, the points cost on here on accident. Sorry, it's 250 points for this guy. So he's significantly better than the prior data sheet that we showed up on here. Let's see the guns he can have. So he's equipped with his cannon, 2 twin big shooters, and 2 zap guns, and a death roller. Okay, so I actually kind of like that because he gets his cannon and 2 zap guns, right? So he can have up to 5 big shooters. No, you can replace the zap gun with a lava or a cannon. This model can replace his cannon with a zap gun or a lava, and it can replace its big shooters with rockets. So this guy can have multiple cannons, it looks like, on it from based off how that's read. And it has 5 big shooters. So this guy has even more packing a punch. This I like to see more. This is getting more guns. Has the volume of shots you actually want if you're going to give it plus hit 1 to hit. It has 22 wounds. So it actually can take a damage in response as well. It is T12 is nice to see. And the fact that it's providing cover as you're moving up the field is hilarious. So yeah, this Death Roller Battle Fortress is definitely one of the better, more playable guys. Now, how are you actually going to play this thick old boy? This is something where if for some reason you wanted to run your kill tank as this for cheaper points, maybe you could. Other than that, it's not something that's easy to get to, but it's very, very orky, and it looks exactly what we want it to be. I'm just looking at this picture, and I'm like, man, if we still had something that was that thick and that big, besides the kill tank, that'd be very fun. Because this one also has its very cool melee profile. Kill tank doesn't have a bad melee profile, though. And Datasheet brings up a good point that the Chad Mechboy Workshop acts as cover as well. Yes. I meant like a mobile vehicle that doesn't do that as well, but that's a good point. Also, 36 Warkoptas sounds like a new shirt. Whoa! Exactly. We're gonna just we're gonna just run a bunch of Grout armies now, a bunch of Warkopta armies, and a bunch of Speed Walls now because of this Legends. It pretty much unlocks all of that. So Chinook Warkopta. Chinork Warkopta. So this is a Warkopta's big brother. Movement 14, T8, save 4 up, 10 wounds, leadership 7, 2 OC, 6 up invuln. It has potential. I'm going to see which guns of these it actually has, but it has a twin big shooter def gun. So the def gun is 48-inch range, 2 attacks, hitting on 5s, strength 8, minus 1, 2 damage. So that's the gun that the Ludas have, and it's rapid fire 1. A custom Mega Blaster, hazardous, of course, just like a custom Mega Blaster. A Rattler Cannon, 24-inch range, 6 attacks, hitting on 5s, strength 6, minus 1, 1 damage. Rocket launcher, scorcher. So it has a interesting plethora of guns you can choose from. Armored hull, 3 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 6, 0 AP, 1 damage. So it doesn't have good strength, doesn't have AP. Very low amount of attacks, to be honest. As you can see right here, you guys, it has deep strike and firing deck 12. So not only is stuff coming in there as a transport, but it can shoot out of it. Very fun. Its datasheet ability is aerial deployment. If this model starts the game in strategic reserve, it can be set up in the reinforcement step of your first, second, or third movement phase, regardless of the missions or rules. Whoa! Come on, guys. That's super fun. War gear abilities. Big bombs. Once per game battle. After the bear ends a normal move, you can select one enemy unit that is moved across during that movement. Roll a d6. On a 4+, it's a 1 mortal wound. Okay, so I can just... You can select one... Yeah, okay. I'm like making sure it's not more than... That's not impressive at all if it's one Chinook. But yeah, boom. That's freaking awesome. Let's see how this guy looks, what weapons he can have. This model is equipped with big shooter, 2 def guns, and an armored hull. So it has a normal gun and then it has 2 def guns on the top. So keep that in mind. This model can be equipped with up to 2 big bombs. Okay, so you can do the bomb twice. And you can replace the big shooter with a custom Mega Blaster, a rocket. I would definitely replace it with like a rocket. And the def guns can replace with the Rattler cannon. So if you like those volumes of shot, which typically for orcs you kind of do, right? But this guy isn't really being used for his damage. I'm just saying, you guys would choose what you want to use. And the transport capability of 12 orcs infantry. It cannot have gas, not that he fit, or armored models or jump pack models. So they did try to at least keep in mind that he can't do that. That'd be pretty cool. But come on, dude, a Copta. This dude's acting as an actual, Chinook Copta from the army, where it's actually running up, laying some firepower down, and then orc boys are actually getting out of it. Thematically, how much do I like this? An A+, S+. Do I wish GW still had you let us use these? Of course I do. Do I think it could be OP? Yes. Depending on how much it costs. But for 105 points, for 40 points, you're paying for a little bit of melee. Offense, not melee. You're paying for a little bit of shooting profile. You're playing for a little bit more movement. You're playing for flying, and you're playing for the cool factor. So all in all, Chinook Warkopta. If I've seen people talk about it in Discord, if you're gonna get your hands on one, if you're gonna make one up, get the proper dimensions for it, and use it, you're gonna have some super fun games and thematic games. You could put orc boys in here running around and getting stuck in. Fighter bomber. So I'm gonna say this straight off the bat before we go into this data sheet. I didn't even get a picture for these. I think orcs have enough planes that are already hard enough to get into game. These planes actually perform significantly worse, and we'll go over it real quick. Movement of 20+, T9, 3-up save, 6-up invuln, 12 wounds, and its leadership 7+. Ranged weapons, guided boom, 1 shot, D6 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 8, -2 damage. You can only shoot that once in the game. And it's twin big shooters, wing missiles that are hitting on 5, strength 9, -2, flat 3 damage. Winged arms that are hitting on 4s, strength 6, 3 attacks. It has nothing interesting besides deadly demise. Strafing rules. Each time this model makes a ranged attack that targets a unit that cannot fly, at +1 to hit. Small bombs. Each time it flies over units, on a 4+, they take a mortal wound. For 100 points, one time using a gun and hoping getting missiles is just not where it needs to be. In all, nothing that it has, as it just has a straight 3 big shooters and its armor's hull, and its wing rockets. It can be equipped with one of the following, so it's either small bombs or wing bombs. All in all, the plane's not interesting at all, and it's even hard to find a good picture of one. So this is back when Aeronautica was a thing, so don't be surprised. Here's another plane that came up. There's attack fighter. So one was more for fighting ground units. This one's for fighting air units. Very similar, samey profile for 100 points. Hitting on 2s, T9, 3-up armor save, 10 wounds, leadership 7, 0 OC, 6-up invuln. Twin big shooters, wing missiles, so it doesn't even have the once per game shooting. Same wing melee profile. And scepter. If each time it makes a range attack that targets a fly unit, add 1 to the hit rolls. It drops bombs. 100 points. This is not good. I just didn't even take a picture for it. Don't get worked up about that. If you want to use it, be cool. Lift-a-wagon. So when I started in 8th edition, I was looking here and I go, boy, what is that? So lift-a-wagon. Now, Alex asked another question. Are you able to use legend units in match play? Necessarily, no. You're not. You're not supposed to use them in match play. They're actually considered for like casual play instead. So no, when you play match play, if you're gonna take them to your local store and you guys agreed to play, let's say the GW mission tournament pack. No, if you're gonna play just like an open game casual play, maybe out of the Leviathan box, out of the Leviathan book, yeah, you could totally use it. all in all, it's really one of those things where you ask people, do you care if I'm using these legend models? Some people really don't care because, as you can see, as we've gone through this, none of these are really broken. A lot of the time, they just add like a different flavor because they were a narratively thematic unit or model that GW introduced because of the universe and left it in. So you can ask whoever you're playing if they're going to use it. If it's my friend, he wants to use legends, I'll let him use it, especially like dreadnoughts and cool things like that. So they would let you use it too. If you're trying to go to like tournaments and stuff, no, don't. You can't use the legends. But we're orc players. A lot of people have these guys. That's why I want to put it out there. And the Red Gobbo is being released. So I mean, if you get a Red Gobbo and you go to your local games workshop and you want to play with the Red Gobbo you just bought, people are gonna let you play. That's open play. That's for fun. Match play is just when you go to like RTTs and stuff. Lift-a-wagon. So movement 10, T10, 3 up save, 16 wounds, leadership 7, 5 OC, 6 up invuln. This is essentially another version of a battle wagon, guys, just so you know. Just gonna say it now. So we have big shooters, lift-a-dropper, anti-vehicle 3+, 36-inch range, 4 attacks, hitting on 5, strength 6, -3, D6 +1. It has rockets for blast, D3 shots, and then it has a bunch of different kind of melee weapons because it is essentially a battle wagon. It has a death roller. You know what the death roller does. Grabbing claw, tracking wheels, and a wrecking ball. So it has the whole plethora of melee weapons that the battle wagon has. But as you can see, guys, no firing deck. Dun dun dun. Then we have a datasheet abilities. The bigger they are, the better they drop. Each time an attack made by this model, lift-a-dropper destroys an enemy model that has the deadly demise ability. That model's deadly demise ability on a more inflicts mortal wounds on a D6. Roll a 3+ instead of a 6. So as long as deadly demise is supposed to inflict mortal wounds, which is the whole point of deadly demise, instead of rolling that 6 you need for it, you need to roll a 3+, because the lift-a-dropper is literally picking up that vehicle and then slamming it on the ground, and then in response, it's causing that vehicle to blow up. Whoa! That's Zoggin awesome! This is one of those units that I really actually like as well. One of my favorite ones too. Let's look at the other side. So here's how it actually looks. If you're a cheeky git that either has one of these or puts one of these together, if anybody ever denies you, it's because they don't want you to kill their Death Dread. Other dreadnought. So this model has a lift-a-dropper, tracking wheels. This model's tracking wheels can be placed with a death roller. This model can be equipped with the grabbing claw, as you can see, and it can be equipped with one of the following: twin big shooters, rockets, or 2 rockets. So you're just gonna give us some rockets, and it's awesome gun. Now, how awesome is the lift-a-dropper? Really freaking awesome. If you make it hit a vehicle on a 4+, you're messing up that vehicle because it's anti-vehicle 3+ with -3 AP. This can deliver some long-range, nasty anti-vehicle firepower that enemy would never see coming from an orc army for 135 points. So another thing, if you have your battle wagon, if you're a creative git, you could put a gun on the back of it, and then you can take it off periodically, and you want to play with your buddy, and he wants to bring a very thematic mechanized army. You want to also. That's the way you can run this. Do I love it? Yes, I do. Is it a transport? No, it's not. Grop boom launcher. Another terrible unit right here. I'll just say right now, movement 6, T6. Sorry, movement 12, T6, 4 up armor save, 6 wounds. 2 OC, 7 leadership. Its weapon is blast, 1 shot, indirect. D6, 72 inches, D6, hitting on 4, strength 8, -2, 2 damage. You can only shoot it once. So this is a one-time game. Each time this model makes a ranged attack, the target's an enemy unit that contains 5 or more, you reroll the hit roll. So once per game, you're going to hope to just throw all these into like a group of infantry, Space Marine infantry, and hope you kill them for 50 points. Not worth it at all, but threw it in there because it's funny. Now, one of my favorites, if not my absolute favorite, and possibly the actual last unit, I believe, on this list, is the big mech on warbike to finish off the awesome, the awesome compilation of speed wall assisted units in here. So we have a movement. I just read that fucking chat. Movement of 12, T6, 4 up armor save, 6 wounds, leadership 7, 2 OC with the 6 up invuln. So you only have the 6 up invuln. I like to see my mechs with the 5 up at least, but whatever. Combi weapon. So anti-infantry, devastating wounds, rapid fire 1. One shot, hitting on 5, 4 strength 4. So you custom Mega Blaster, custom Mega Slugger, right? You guys know what that does. Rocket launcher, shock attack gun. You guys see that on there? That's one of his profiles. Blast heavy, D6 plus 1, hitting on 5, strength 9, minus 4, D6 damage. Twin Daka gun. So we're gonna have to look at exactly what he can actually bring here. And then he has his melee options: big chopper, close combat, kill saw, power claw. So this guy has a long, extensive data sheet. Leader, no other abilities. More Daka. When this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a rage attack, re-roll a hit roll of 1. Mechanic. At the end of your movement, you can select one friendly orc unit within 3 inches of that model. That vehicle regains up to D3 lost wounds, and until the start of your next phase, each time that vehicle makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Each model can only be selected once per ability. And then war gear options, custom force field. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a 4+ save against ranged attacks. Whoa! All right, I'm just going to say right off the gate, this looks like the best data sheet. So it can replace this model can replace his following with one of these guns. And it can replace his chopper with one of these guns. So you can choose to have different versions of shooting guns, but all in all, you'd probably bring, a power claw, kill saw, and then you could bring a whole shock attack gun, but you never want to sit still, but that'd be hilarious to have. And then you can have custom mega blaster. So he can have awesome shooting weapons. He has his twin Daka guns built in, of course, and then he can go with a unit of war bikers. So his model is literally just like a smaller version of the Death Killer War Trike on a bike. And then he has just like a mech. So really you could get back showing up with one of these guys super easily. You just put you take a normal wrench, you put him on a biker, and boom, you have your big mech on a war bike. Very, very easy to use. I love him. He's really freaking cool. I think this guy's definitely legendary. So between the big mech on the war bike and the Painboy on bike, right? Let's us in chat and us here do this thing about it right now. If we were just to wad out right now, right? You have the Death Killer War Trike, you have the War Boss on bike, you have the Painboy on bike, and the Big Mac on bike. How do we organize those top to bottom? Let's go chat. Respond to me. So with this Big Mac on this guy, you have the options of putting a big brick standing in the middle of the board and saying, hello, you cannot shoot me off this objective while your rest of your units stage up. And he can actually help any mechanized units you bring with your speed wall. So let's say you want to bring, let's say a mech dread, right? Everybody loves mech dreads. But they already get +1 hit, so don't bring him. But let's say you want to bring a Death Dread and you want to give it +1 hit because they suck and you want to make them more durable and survive. Let's say you want to you Gorkanaut or a Morkanaut, you want to run up, give him the ability to heal because you don't want to pay for that mech to just stand there and be boring. You want this guy to actually give his unit their defensive capability from his 4-up invul, and at the same time you want him to run up and give some kind of big stompy, get another +1 to hit and heal. So right off the bat, this guy, I mean, for 105 points, he's essentially equivalent of a Big Mac and Mega Armor with an enhancement, right? I mean, would I pay for this in a real like match play? Ooh, that would be pretty awesome. I think, yeah, in an actual match play game, Big Mac on Warbike would actually be freaking awesome because you're going to make people shoot Warbikers that are already weird, can art as nails off an objective. It would be sick. And then if you have a truck next to you, you can heal the truck that was trying to assist and take boys up the board. If you had something big and stompy, you can give them +1 to hit and heal them. So this guy actually might be the best of all of the Warbiker units. Then after that, it might be the Death Killer War Trike because if you give him a Feel No Pain, the Painboy bike is pretty awesome too. But woo, I love that. So all in all, guys, those were the Legends data sheets. Let me get back to the one I want to talk to. Sorry, the first one, in case you guys didn't see. So that's what Ork Legends are. I wanted to go through those. Those are on the GW community website. They're in PDF. You can download the point cost. You can download the data sheets. A lot of them, you just look up what they actually are. You can make your own. People already own them from before. So do I think you should use them? Absolutely. If you're playing with your friends, if you're playing at a casual GW store, yes, you should. You know why you should? Because for a lot of the time, GW did sell these models. The actual store owner would think it's awesome. They still sell stuff that ends up going directly to Legends anyways. So your red gobbo, if you're gonna buy the model and paint them up, you're gonna tell me you're not gonna play him just because match play. What are you, Art of War? You're not Art of War. Why are you so worried about it? If you're gonna go to an event, yes, do not try to play with your Legends models, right? You're gonna go to an RTT, your store's local RTT, your store's local store events. No, you can't run it. But if you're just playing with people, you should use them. And GW is encouraging you to use Legends by the fact that they release models that go directly to Legends. People forget that all in all, Warhammer isn't hobby, it's for casual, it's for fun. And that's why I wanted to do this video too, because a lot of the time, even here, we're focusing on what's the meta, what's next, what's here. And it's really fun because it's the beginning of a new edition. Books are constantly coming out. That's really cool. But once all the books are out, and we've been playing the edition for a while, stagnation comes into play. People get sad and all this stuff. And that's because they forget that the whole point of 40K is to have fun and have thematic armies that you indulge in, where you live vicariously through. When I'm playing with my mob of boys, it's because I'm thinking of getting stuck in and charging into a gun line. That's actually fun. The idea of being in the trenches, stuff like that. So if you're playing with a speed wall, a lot of stuff in this Legends data PDF is something that's really going to help you. I think that's, for the most part, that's the biggest thing I can say from all this. If you're playing a Grout Revolution army, of course you're going to be using your Grout leaders. But if you're running a speed wall and we just don't have our codex yet, and you really want to run something and you're tired of getting automatically destroyed, but you own all these bikers, go ahead and plug in that Big Mag or that Painboy. You really might have some success. It really might help you and actually have a lot of fun. But don't forget that the red gobbo must be stopped. So you guys are funny. So I'm going to take a second and just go over the chats and see what you get's got to say. Whoa! See what you get's got to say before I pop out. Since I'm just saying hello to you, you can stay here and hang out, or you can dip. But that's what I got to say about Legends for today. Let me just catch up with these chats. I'd rather have a big gun on my last few points rather than a random character with super cyborg body. Rather than giving a random character super cyborg. Okay, well then. okay, I get what you're saying. So instead of paying for an enhancement that you don't feel like you'd need, you're just gonna buy a 20-point big gun. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's really not bad for if you. I get what you're saying there. All the buggies are great for speed walls. Yeah, that's true. And you know what? Like you just said, you brought up that what you would do for those 20 points for that. Yeah, I guess a model is a model, and having a model for 20 points that can activate is just great in itself. But goodness, it's really not going to do anything else, and it doesn't move that fast. Yes, and I would say it's I have that eclair shaped base for my war boss on bike. Yeah, because they were like probably in the what we used to be considered Forge World. They were part of Forge World being sold before, and they stopped being sold, but those were the bases that they were on originally. So if you make your own, probably just use a similar same base. And yes, like I said, 36 Def Copters is where we're going. The Battle Fortress datasheet it made for being an army centerpiece. Yes, it is. That's exactly what it sounds like. Oh yes, how about this? The Chinook is unique. There's nothing like it in the rest of the army. There's not like it in general, like in 40K. I mean, I guess a Valkyrie, but that's literally a plane, right? A Chinook is just a transport that flies. I mean, I guess like a devilfish, I guess, but an Orc one is better. Man, I really like looking at that. I really like the Chinook, and nothing is like it. But we all know we'd like 3 Chinooks plus 36 Def Copters just flying at you with the speed wall, shooting rockets at you and stuff. That could be pretty sick. I need to match theme songs right now. Chinook loaded with Zod and Super Grots is fire. That would be actually pretty sick. Whoever makes that, my goodness, that'd be awesome. Right? Can you imagine just you scout into the middle of the field and then you fly and you jump out? That'd be sick. The pale orc. Whoa! It is that time of the Earth Day, so the pale orc is up and about. I'd like to see you get. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. 50% gun, 50% vehicle. Perfectly balanced, as all things should. I think you're talking about the lift-a-drop, right? That's outrageous. A whole battle wagon. We all know how big our battle wagons are. Now imagine you take a gun and you put it on top of the battle wagon. Yeah, I love that it's anti-infantry 3+ though. I used to run shock attack gun on the Big Mac on bike. Every game I play with my Rev Wings, all bikers love. See what I mean? The Pale Ork is all about it. He owns that model and he ran it. And he said he likes it pretty much because he always used to run it with that. Now, does he still run it? Maybe not as much because he's been playing events. I know that he's been preparing for events in his area for, his games and such. But I mean, guys, that's what I mean. It's thematically an armies, like he just said, he had a name for it. That's the point of these Legends models. The Grot bombs are the ultimate turn one gamble. 150 points to drop 3 nukes on your opponent. Let's go. Whoa! That's not a terrible points investment to drop the nukes. It's just like, all right, well, you guys are going to go play the mission now. Go do something. Yeah. Mech number 1. So I think you're saying number 1 is the Big Mech on bike. Probably. I agree. Big Mac, if honestly, for value, both versions, he has offensive capability with his shooting and his fighting, and he's giving buffs to different units and the units in units that are attached to him. So, Big Mac on bike is number 1 for best bike character. Then I'll give it to the Death Killer Wartrike. Then I'll give it to the Painboy, and then I'll give it to the Warboss on bike. Warboss on bike is honestly a letdown. So if I guess I might have to trade those. The Death Killer Wartrike kind of acts as a Warboss. So like I'd like to see the Big Mac. Wicked Joe, thank you for your service and your sacrifices to the fellow veterans. Whoa! Yeah, happy Veterans Day to my fellow veterans, including you, Wicked Joe. And thank you. I am a veteran myself. So I appreciate that. And all you gets from all over the world. All you guys are awesome. That are veterans. I appreciate you. Fighting Fedora. The Red Gobbo is the most legendary legend. Are you sure? Or is Snaggy Little Tooth bigger legend? Uh-oh. Did I start a grot fight? Whoa! All right, guys. So that's it for this one. So what I'm going to say now is that we are going to continue our Fridays with continuing going up to Ork matchups, different kind of like hard matchups, or how to fight into these different detachments, factions that are coming out and kind of taking over the meta. I'm going to start off with stuff that I think is a little bit more competitive and against us. Maybe just keep going along with Space Marines. Then I'll have to, Tyranids, Voltan, Death Guard, such like that. So keep an eye out for that. Give your input, obviously reach out to me as you want. Guys know you can send me messages and everything. I try not to take over the Discord with all my chatting because I can be ranting, as you can see. But you want to talk to me, just reach out. I always respond. I love responding to y'all. And I got my Steam up and running. So if we're going to talk about gaming, let you guys reach out to me about that too. I want to get Tabletop Simulator going so that I can use that as examples to give you guys actual visuals on what I'm talking about. And it's a good way to interact with you guys. Or just playing straight up Space Marine games like Space Marine coming out, or I swear, what was it? I don't know how I'm bringing a brain fart. Dawn of War. I've always wanted to play Dawn of War. So all together, all in all, I'm super excited for going forward. We're almost at the 1,000 mark. Remember to subscribe, or if you become a channel member, you'll be put in the raffle so that you can get the new Beast Snag Christmas box that's coming out. Because when we get to 1,000, we're going to raffle that off internationally. No matter where you are, we're going to get it to you. I don't care if you're on the island of Madagascar. You get in that box, you get. So yeah, all in all, I appreciate you guys. Great support. Love y'all. Hit me up. Let's keep this going because it's the rise of the green tide. And there's one thing to keep in mind. Don't cross the wall because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!